Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society, and nothing here is ever to be construed as hate, medical, nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the RealPublicRadio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way, 7 days a week on the RealPublicRadio.net, Free America Radio Network. Somewhere out there, it's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. Stand by for the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen, and still time to call your friends. We'll be right back.
The missing dimension in world politics is the spiritual dimension. The problems of life cannot be solved by material means. Modern civilization is missing the point of life. Human life is meant for understanding spiritual values. Real knowledge is knowing yourself, what you are, what God is, and understanding your relationship and duty to God. It is our duty to understand God, abide by His laws, and learn to love Him. Then all of our problems will be solved. When men are not governed by God, they will be ruled by tyrants. The material world is just like a prison. The spirit soul is imprisoned in a material body which is imprisoned in the material world. We do not belong in this material world. We are spirit souls and belong to the spiritual world. Modern civilization is wrongly directed to the fulfillment of sense gratification, the basis of material life and a barrier to spiritual realization. The demonic believe that the enjoyment of the senses is the ultimate goal of life. However, it is not possible to become peaceful and happy in the attempt to gratify the temporary senses. The result is usually the opposite. A materialistic culture based on sense gratification agitates the mind and senses. Unless one controls the mind and senses, one cannot make any spiritual advancement. The great sages of all bona fide religions were completely free of material attachments because they knew that spirit is permanent while matter is temporary. Our present culture would have us debase ourselves and become more and more entangled in materialism so that the path to the spiritual world is blocked. The demonic wish to make this planet a closed system where it cannot function for the purpose it was intended. The material world was created to give man the opportunity to purify himself of his material consciousness, for the aim of life is to go back home, back to God. The demonic cannot go back home until they rid themselves of their demonic mentality, and so they wish to make it impossible for anyone else to return home. This is the ultimate goal of psychological warfare: to entangle man in materialism so that he cannot return home, back to the Supreme Lord. Mind control in America. Break it.
And welcome to Forbidden History Live, the series, ladies and gentlemen, on Ask Dezert-Owl and the Original Thought Transliteration Project. I am your host, Dezert-Owl, and want to welcome our new listeners out there. If we have any new or old friends, want to welcome all of you. And we can go to that other graphic now, Ninja, please. And there it is. Okay, I always got that delay. I'm always behind the curve, but the good news is I'm not really behind the curve, ladies and gentlemen. I am on top of the ball and in presenting a number of issues that are crucial to who we are, where we are, why we are, and when we are, and what are we going to do about it. And the only thing we can do about it is to surrender to the truth and make our connection with the one who made all things, because the one who made and makes, continually making all things, reveals all things, and has us in mind. And that's another part of the good news, is totally focused on us and hoping that we'll be able to unravel the great mystery on planet Earth. It's a walk, it's a work, and it's a whack upside our head when we realize the truth. And people rather have the fiction. Oh, please don't bore me with those facts, man. Just give me the fiction, okay? Can you give me the short version? Yeah, I just want the short version. And but ladies and gentlemen, the truth sets us free, and so we have to hear some things we've never heard before, and then we may see some things that we have yet to see. Okay. And by the way, on the high definition if any of you are getting any fading or blurring on the program graphics, you click on that wheel. If you put your pointer onto the screen of the YouTube screen, and there's that wheel, there's that cog wheel down on the right, uh, four in next to the CC for closed caption, and then click that wheel, and the bottom item has a setting numbers for your viewing, and if you go there, you can go to the highest for high definition. And that's what I needed to do. Apparently, I have to do it before every program, uh, but you know, every device may not accommodate the high definition. So just be aware you can test it. It won't hurt anything, and you can back out of it or go to a lower setting. You know, so just experiment with that. And I just did it while I was on the program here, waiting for my turn to jump in. So. And by the way, we can call in at any time if you want to call in. I'm really trying to get a caller-generated program because I want to answer questions for anybody that's trying to figure stuff out. You know, I having been a former political activist with two pro-American organizations, Council for the National Interest, the antithesis of what we know as the Council on Foreign Relations. This was the thesis to that. And I learned a lot in that first organization. Then my second one, after my divorce, was United Truckers defending the Constitution. Then I found out the Constitution was a fraud, you know, and it's all a fraud. Everything is a fraud, and the question is, why is it a fraud, you know? And I'll jump in on that real quick, but I want to mention the call-in number is 608 566 7295. 608-566-7295. That's the phone. Skype is the best quality of for back and forth. The phone, you know, still works. It still works, and that may be easy access for most people. So we do it on the phone. I put it up to my headset, and we can hear you right off the phone. Free America Radio is the Skype in. That's all one word, Free America Radio. All right. And love to hear from you. And we have a small family of listeners here, but you know what's really exciting is that the few that we have actually get it, and it says, you know, that there will be few that are saved, and if there's few that are saved, it must mean there are few that actually wake up, you know. And Brother Chi, good to have you out there in Denmark, and yeah, we actually have some friends in different parts of the world. Ninja's in Sydney, Australia, and we often have Eliza on here, and she's in Wales, and we've got Jeff from Join the Dots stopping in every now and then from the UK. And we had a new listener said he was #1 listening in today. Up there is Wisam at the top of the comments. If you scroll up, you'll see Wasim, Wasim Wasim Bey. He's obviously a law student. Check out his website. He's studies the words and the law and all that. And Thea, good to see you on the chat as well. Thea likes to call in periodically, and so I'm just grateful for some wonderful people that we've met through this network. Everybody very sincere and very dedicated to the pursuit of truth and the better world, the next one that is here right now. We have to find it here right now. Okay, and so these are the things I like to talk about, but we can go into forbidden. If you call in, we can go to Forbidden History. You can say, okay, Desert, where do you get this thing about, you know, the flood or the Watchers? Can you tell me, you know, what you learned about that? All of that, you know, I collect lost writings. I've got probably one of the biggest collections of anybody out there. I know that the wealthy may have, you know, some other spectacular finds that we'll never be able to access. Maybe they've got the closer to the original copies, you know, of our Schultes. And you know, no doubt they do, because I've managed to get a couple finds lately that I didn't expect, and it just shows, you know, what they printed at Oxford and other places, you know, are hiding from us, and I'm revealing them here. Okay, and Seemed to me there was one more thing before I got into the pitch here of what. Oh, we're going to talk about. We're going to. I just want to mention a few things that I've learned real quick on who's running the world, and then when we get back, from our regular break with Dane Wigington, then we'll get on with a read. I've got a read. I was going to do chapter 3 on the original thought cleanup of some of the Schulte's scriptures. That I did 1 and 2 already over several programs. It took me about three programs to do it because of things going on. But literally, I'm going to read the message of Peter. He wrote a letter to James, the brother of Yeshua, about how people were stealing their writings and retranslating them improperly. And Kephe, not Peter. Peter is a fiction. Kephe is his correct title that Yeshua gave to him, means the knowledge of the Fe, holder of the keys, all of these things. And how he mentions that they are putting words in my mouth that I have never spoke, right? So I thought that since we're doing words and trying to get people to, wrap their mind around what we're doing, it would be good to hear something like that, to get the picture that where people have been prejudiced. Prejudice is like, means prejudgment. They're prejudiced to say, no, my scriptures, there's no other than 27 tiny little pages, short letters of the New Testament. And that's not the case. We had a library. I say it over and over on here. And you get Eusebius, he was the librarian, the last librarian. The History of the Church by Eusebius. He actually wrote a profound work. I've read it several times, got notes all in the margin. And just so you know, we've got heavy winds here today. They've had major tornado damage down in the southern states below where I'm at here in Ohio, and that wind is coming up here now. So if we get dropped off, then that's what happened. The power went out. Okay, so just be aware of that. And so in this idea, Ninja, if you could put that quote back up, okay, that the red one, the red in black and white and red on who's running the world. That's such an important quote. And the German state, the enigma is, how does banking run all the nations, right? Jewish banking runs the nations of the world. There could be an exception out there in some way, shape, or form, but maybe with India, because the Brahmin and the Hindu are in India, and they're running the Vatican behind the scenes. So the quote says, "From the dawn of time we came, moving silently down through the centuries, living many secret lives, struggling to reach the time of the gathering," the ingathering, right? Meaning a culmination of something, "when the few who remain will battle to the last. No one has ever known we were among them until now." And that was at the beginning of the movie The Highlander. And when I read that, I knew what it meant, and I grabbed it and I just tagged it with the identifier that it's talking about the Assyrian, Ashkenazi, Nazi, there you go, Jew warfaring class. It's the greatest deception and the greatest show on earth, ladies and gentlemen, when the you-know-who's wanted us to think they're the world victims, when it is they who have taken a vow, a blood oath. That's what Bauer means, vow of war. If you know the code, that's what we reveal here, the code. The vow of war, perpetual war, that they could be the front line for the ancient Aryan sovereign, which is corrupted into the word Brahmin. And so thank you, Ninja. You can put that back now. And so back then, they were known as the Assyrian. And isn't it ironic today? Because it was the Assyrians and Babylon and Nineveh and all that came against Israel, Ashuriyulva, and captured the northern 10 tribes, all the way through. They went all the way up to the Euphrates River, all the way into Padamaram, or what is also called Mesopotamia. It was a mess. And and so the Assyrians kidnapped the northern 10 tribes, sell them into slavery, banish them forever from their tribe, with a few exceptions, of course. A few spilled back in and stayed, with their mother Judah, and Benjamin and the Levitical priests. But so it's ironic then that it was the Assyrians that banished the 10 tribes, and then it was Babylon that infiltrated the last 3 tribes of Levi, Benjamin, and Judah, right? And then the Assyrians go down through time, which is what I do with the Forbidden History. I bring it down from the ancient Vekaresh, which was corrupted into Watcher, which in the Vatican we see as Vicar, and they come down through time, through all these different cultures: the Assyrian, Babylonian, Hittite, Phoenician, then the Venetians after or around the time of Constantinople. They split the Roman Empire. Give me a break. You split an empire? Yeah, well, they do in their game because it's a shell game. And which is it, the right hand, the left hand, right? Or maybe it's both hands, and it is. They always control all sides. And so they worked their way down. They were the Etruscans. During the Phoenician heyday, they were the Etruscans. But then they moved from the area of Italy because Italy is going to be the Roman Empire. So they then set up shop in the city built on 1,000,000 pylons in the Adriatic Sea called Venice. They built a city on water because they were so powerful and they were in fear of being marched on by some enemy that they had to build their city on water. And so then they move out of Venice into the Roman state, as the Roman Empire now morphed into religion, and you got the Jewish banking. Well, it's not Jewish back then; it was still Uis. The term may have been Uis with the Y, or Iwis with an IW. I have to go research that now, but I've given the genealogy for 1,000 years of the word Jew, how it goes back, and thanks to Charles Wiseman, may he rest in peace, somebody who was a book publisher, and I used to sell his books at gun shows, and was inspired by his work. Unbelievable. So thank you, Charles, and I've interviewed him a few times as well, expert on law. And so they move through time, and then they become they get the Celtic and the redhead spotted, pushed them off the European continent, and draw lines in the sand and set up the nations we see today as Portugal, Spain, France, Poland, you name it. All the different confederations under the Roman Empire. And so what's interesting is I've been watching some documentaries of late, trying to get the final pieces to the puzzle. And so it was Germany who created in other words, what we call Germanic states were all a variety. There was Prussia, there was where's that castle from? Bavaria. There were all these different, and then lesser known states we've never even heard of it, but I've got a map of it now that shows all of them. And it was like we're talking about a dozen or 15 or maybe more. All were independent Germanic states, but yet we know that the infiltration is within all society, right? That they are agents, whether they were Knights Templar at the time or Jesuits. They're all the same culture. They're all the same people. The Caesars, all the same culture. The Venetians, all the same culture, and they control banking. And we see that with the Venetian, with the Knights Templar, with the Vatican, right? And so, but then you got the regal, the royal. Another branch of the family will then be the puppet kings. They'll be set up where the bankers got autonomy. That's auto money. They can go anywhere, do anything they want, buy anybody they want. And so then I find out now clearly, I got the scoop, that the Germanic state it was formed. In other words, the German, what we would call Germany, the unification of the German Empire. It was first called the German Empire, 1871. Okay, and so and it was under Bismarck. Okay, Bismarck, I think, who gave us World War I in particular, and And then he was banished to Holland to smell tulips after the war. Isn't that wonderful? But there's a bigger story. I'm going to do this presentation. I've done it before, but now I've got more of the pieces of the puzzle. So I'll do it again here in the near future. But basically, so it's Jewish banking that are doing it, and they call themselves Jews since 1775 is when the word Jew came into existence. Prior to that, it had a letter I in front of it, and had it was like IWIS that, and it goes into the French. And if you get the book, my 2020 dictionary, actually, the 2020 Indo-Germanic etymological dictionary, I've got the chart in there. You can see it in the book. I can get you the PDF for free. You just have to hit me up. My email is on the about page, okay, and I'll be glad to get you the dictionary so you can see the history, because these are the people that came down from history that are running our world. That's why they're so arrogant, they're so good at it, because they control everything from movies to music to the pharmaceuticals to the politicians themselves. And my point here being that they were the German army, right? And I just recently saw a documentary a few months back, and where it said that the German army that were machine gunning all the French and the Spanish, or no, not the Spanish probably, but the French, the English, the Americans, and then in Turkey, it was the Turks are a part of the group, of course, and they're machine gunning Australians in Turkey. They made a movie about it, and so they got all the trenches dug with the machine guns, and they tell everybody else to run after the machine guns and take them out. No, don't go around them. Just run at them. Run at those machine guns. Yeah. And it'll be a great depopulation program for Europe, and help us to set up for the next World War. But so basically, and that's at the time with World War I in 1917. They're about maybe just prior or just at the beginning of World War I. The Jewish banking out of Chase Manhattan Bank, New York, with 100 kites. That's another name for a Jew. Kites fly into Russia, overthrow the Romanov family, the royal family there that wanted nothing to do with Jewish banking, and they annihilated them, killed them, and even put them in sulfuric acid to make sure all that would remain of their bodies would be dissolved in sulfuric acid. Unreal, ladies and gentlemen, the wickedness of these people. And so what did the documentary say? That there were the German army. They say it right on the documentary, because they're really out of the gate now, because they want all their people to not forget, right? They're reminding them what's coming next. So don't forget, we did this. We had in World War I, 1 million German soldiers, and all of them were Jews. 1 million. This was the bankers' army. Go put two and two together. Don't they look more sophisticated, more superior in all their uniforms and their helmets and their all their armaments? They were on the cutting edge. They were creating anti-gravity Vimanas while they're flying the first jet engines, right? Doing circles around the Spitfire, British and American airplanes that were coming in, right? They were flying, doing circles around them with jet engines. But they were destined to fail. In other words, it was a temporary deal. It was a deal with Hitler, who was a bastard child of the Rothschilds through a maid, and that he was set up for this. The square mustaches, the square of international Freemasonry, just like the Catholic priest has a square on his collar, right? They're speaking. When you got whatever has the square is speaking. That's why the American flag and the other flags very often have a square in the corner. The square, like in Australia, for instance, that's got the British, the bars and stripes, or the two crosses, the cross of Andrew and the other cross. So it's a double cross. Note that too. It's a double cross, and Union Jack. Thank you, Ninja. And so whatever has the square is speaking. And so when, as I've pointed out, I had to correct Confucius's quote because they edited it and they took out the most important part. It's not signs and symbols rule the world. Signs and symbols tell you who rules the world. Okay. And that's why The discussion of symbolism is so important. The colors they use, and of course the red, and you notice the red big time. Um, and even in this last documentary I just saw, they had a red stripe around their hats in Germany. There was, they constantly are able to change things that are out of place. Example, in World War II, the Jewish Soviet Union under the criminal mafioso Stalin, they all were using the swastika. They were using the swastika, right? But then they realized, no, we better just let the German Jews use the swastika because we got to have the focus on them like they're unique. They're unique, and so that's basically what happened. And so the Jew, the swastika is not Assyrian, though. It's not Jewish. It's not Assyrian. It's Hindu. It goes back into Brahmanism and Hinduism. It comes from India. So it shows who they are working for. Signs and symbols tell you who rules the world. And so, and then the raised hand in Nazi Germany is pulling out the unseen hand. They're saying the hand is revealed. The hand is revealed. Heil Hitler, right? And by the way, I have no love for Aryanism. I'm part Celtic or Irish, 25% Irish, and I'm then the rest, European and Aryan, but this is about the Aryan race, so there can't be any prejudice. This whole thing about anti-Semitism, a great cover. Yeah, anybody who talks about them, is labeled as a anti. No, they were never Semites. They never came through Noah or Shem. They are Assyrians by origin. The ass, here, listen to the word, ASS, ass Aryans. Ass Aryans. You see, those were the lower echelon cousins and brothers and the offshoot of the Aryan race that were the fallen watchers. And they put them in Mesopotamia, said, look, you got to move out of the nest and you go leave in northern India and Delhi and all that and Tibet, and we'll put you in Mesopotamia and you can build the next empire right there. In fact, that was the first warfaring empire, were the Assyrians, the official warfaring empire. You see? So right out the gate after the Great Flood. And so I think I made the point, that German, as I said in my book, you got to get the book in the appendix of my first official book that I published almost a decade ago, actually 12 years ago now, I forgot. The Real Da Vinci Code Etymological Dictionary. In there, in the appendix, I got 3 pages of all of their words. They claim who they are. They admit they're not Israel. They admit they're not Israel, and they say German means Jew. And isn't it interesting that the people then that are in Israel, pseudo-Israel today, calling themselves Israel, never were Israel, and were the Assyrians who ultimately banished the 10 tribes that took over shop right there, right in the Levant, right in what's called Jerusalem and all that area. You see, it's the greatest show on earth, ladies and gentlemen. But unless you know the signs and symbols and and dedicate a lifetime of study to this and become a political activist and do, and interview enough people that are revealing it, like Eric John Phelps, who I used to interview and produced a short radio program for, and then also Bill Hughes, who wrote the book The Secret Terrorist and The Enemy Unmasked, 2 books, 2 pocket books that but Bill, fantastic gentleman. And so there's another movie now. You can, there you just posted. Okay, Annie Jacobson, thank you, Ninja, because I was just going to say, so now in that particular documentary that Ninja just posted in the chat, the in there, Annie mentions that it was the Jews, and of course we knew in Alamosa, New Mexico, the secret, proving ground up there, that it was the Jews that invented and created the atomic bomb, right? They created the atomic bomb. And so, and yet they're crying crocodile tears all these years that they're the victims of the world, while they got a centralized army
killing everybody else, destroying. Oh, and what did the SS stormtroopers do? They went and they destroyed all of the Protestant churches, not the Vatican cathedrals, but all the Protestant churches. They destroyed them. They burned them down. That was the objective of the SS, the dual serpent. Okay, and yeah, and so that's the link right there. And so talking about nuclear, let's look at the word, right? I'll type it in there because it is actually nuclear. Nuclear. If you want to clean up get rid of a few people, you can clean it all up with nuclear. Yeah, it's another version of the other version because now, with the toxic stuff that's happening, like here in Ohio and in other, it's going around the world. Literally, the dioxin that was created, and not to mention a synergistic form of chemicals. We have no idea what they are. When they all were spilled together, then ignited on fire, creates new chemicals, creates a whole new environment, and up in the air. And that dioxin, you can only get 1 part in a million per million, and that part per million is 1/10,000th of the size of a grain of salt. 1/10,000th of the size of a grain of salt is all you can get in a lifetime. And they got people over there taking showers, getting rashes, saying they got numbness in their mouth. They're tasting sweet odor. All it is day after day after day. Well, if you can already smell it, you're getting 3,000 times minimum, 3,000 times the dose that you can get in a lifetime, and they're there every day bathing in it. This is the greatest scam right in front of all of us, ladies and gentlemen. The greatest scam. This is them. This is what I've been talking about from the beginning of this program, because it's now the final countdown, ladies and gentlemen. And so when I delivered um, caustic, which is at the opposite end of sulfuric acid and used in water treatment, I made a couple deliveries down to the South Texas nuclear power plant. And these people were in their booths with M16 rifles. They weren't even allowed to put their rifles down, like they were in fear of something. I don't know what, but it was all a show, of course. But one of the technicians that told me where to go to unload my truck and stays with you while you're doing the unloading, and you talk with the engineer when you're there, and he went out of his way to point out to me, while they call this nuclear power plant a public utility, it's actually owned by a consortium of Jews out of New York City, right? And so what a joke. Public utilities, no, Jewish utilities, just like Jewish Federal Reserve Bank, just like Jewish news media, okay? So what happened about 2 months ago, not only did we get a soup of chemicals and toxic foreign elements into our environment, going worldwide. Chi in Denmark has been affected. Lynn here in Pennsylvania, our engineer, who's not been doing too well, and she's relocating, so Lynn is not with us today. All the best to you, Lynn, and keep you in our supplications, okay? And but other people, from all the way near Philly, were feeling the effects. I got reports on. And so 2 months at the same time that the non-controlled burn, because it was non-controlled, it was a burn. Just let it burn, baby. That's all. Let it burn. Let it do its job. Let it fall out over everybody. Went north, south, east, and west. Went every direction, mainly towards Europe, though, which is they're so happy for that, of course, these people. And so in Minnesota, north of Minneapolis, right on the river, again, right on the river, there was a nuclear, get the word, 2 words, nuclear, right there, leaked out 400,000 gallons of radioactive water. Well, where do you think all that spilled? If it's a spill, where you can't, if you're not containing it, and so So do you think, so they didn't tell anybody, right? They didn't. And so then therefore the news didn't tell anybody. The nuclear plant didn't tell anybody but their buddies. And then the Jews, news didn't tell anybody but their buddies secretly, I guess, behind the scenes. And then the who runs it all? The Jewish banking, Jewish media, Jewish nuclear power facilities. They own them all. And they own the railroad. They own it all, ladies and gentlemen. They're all in trust, of course, private trust. You know, it's not about ownership, it's about control, right? Remember, get smart. And who were they working for? They were working for control. So put two and two together, ladies and gentlemen. It's sick, all right? It is sick. We can wrap it up here on this segment, and I've got more wind blowing here than I counted on. I got it outside, got it inside today, but I had to get all this out because it's the greatest show and deception on the planet, ladies and gentlemen. These people are set to take our world down. They're taking our world down, and beautiful people, mothers and fathers, little boys and girls, all of them are being starved out, toxed out, and annihilated. And so if I'm going to be annihilated, at least I want to know about it. They've been telling me for years they're coming for me, so I know that, and it doesn't stop me from saying it like it is. But I think everybody deserves to know, and they do give us notice. They give us public notice, but we never get the picture. Okay, that's what I was saying. They're telling you in the documentaries. You got to be a political scientist. You got to be a journalist, because you're not. It's not going to hop, skip, and jump into your lap. And well, maybe unless you tune in right here. I guess it did. But otherwise, you've got to be a real researcher. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research and see if the things that I've shared with you don't begin to fit like a jigsaw puzzle, because it's taken a lifetime to get here. And I'm blown away that the Heavenly Father has allowed me to see things so clearly. A culture that has been running our world for the unseen hand from the inception of the Aryan race, when they fell and chose to make mate with the fallen children of Cain, who were the redhead spotted, had the stain of blood and leprosy, freckles. That's where we get the term leprechaun. Leprechaun is the leper king. He's kicking his heels because he got the pot of gold if he did his job. If he did his job for the ancient Aryan Brahmin, the sovereign who run the world with the knowledge of technology that gave us anti-gravity vimanas and also giant stone monuments. Now the wind is coming. Woo! All right. Like I said, we could be disconnected here, but so anyway, let's take a break, ladies and gentlemen, and when we get back, we're gonna get into a read of Original Thought, and also find out how they stole a little more about how they stole our scriptures from us as part of the puzzle that we bring to you right here, right now, every Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Time. What they didn't want you to know, but of course we're going to tell it like it is as long as we can right here. So don't go away. We'll be right back. Listen to Dane Wigington for about 7 or 10 minutes, and then we'll be back with a little bit of more of what they didn't want you to know. Of course. You did tell your friends? Well, thank you for doing that. We'll be right back.
Moving on, let's take a moment to consider more moronic commentary from the so-called climate science community. Here's the headline. A group of scientists recently issued a plea for responsible research into solar geoengineering, as if it's not been ongoing for over 75 years already. They say a method could be deployed to deflect the sun's rays with tiny particles and limit climate change impacts. What kind of particles? This is what they suggest. One proposal would be to use thin film space bubbles floating above the planet to deflect sunlight. Then they mention again dumping iron into the oceans to help spawn carbon dioxide devouring phytoplankton. Went over that last week. That acidifies the ocean even further, causes massive dead zones, low and no oxygen, that's hypoxic and anoxic zones, more ways of killing off the planet faster. That's what climate engineering is. And they also remind us of these incredibly off-the-reservation suggestions. Firing plumes of dust from the moon's surface to create a solar shield. Went over that in a previous broadcast. And with all these incredible suggestions of total lunacy, pay no attention to the endless parade of geoengineering jets painting our skies with toxic filth. Go back to sleep. Think space bubbles, moon dust, giant magic tarps to cover Greenland and the poles. Again, all of this from the so-called climate science community. Here's a footnote to remember, consider, investigate, and watch for. Frequency transmission signatures are extremely visible on many radar loops. The so-called weather forecasters ignore them when they appear, pretending they aren't really there. Watch for them. They're incredibly obvious once you know what you're looking for and looking at. Typically looks like bands of spokes from a central point. The central point is the transmission facility itself. Very visible. Watch for them. Now, let's take a moment to examine an example profile of the criminals that run the matrix, from climate engineering to global conflict. All are tools of the controllers. From covertactionmagazine.com, this headline: Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin, former member of Raytheon Board of Directors, has awarded over $30 billion in contracts to Raytheon since his confirmation in January of 2021. Raytheon neck deep in climate engineering operations and patents. Raytheon, who does, along with Lockheed Martin, all the weather modeling, aka the schedule weather, for the National Weather Service and NOAA, the nation's weathermen that can't apparently do it themselves. They have to be given the script, of course, from those who are actually engineering the weather. And National Weather Service and NOAA both have illegal federal gag orders on them. They can't tell the world what's actually going on. They should find the courage to do so anyway, because the whole ship is sinking. Their paychecks, their pensions mean nothing at this point. We have so little time left. People, these agencies need to band together, stand up, and tell the truth while it can still make a difference. From this report, Raytheon's profits have increased considerably as a result of the Ukraine war. Raytheon was also the first major defense contractor to sell weapons to Saudi Arabia, selling the kingdom over 1,000 cluster bombs designed to maximize civilian casualties. Yep, the good old US of A, spreading freedom and democracy around the world. The report continues with this: though Austin claims to have recused himself from decisions involving Raytheon, the Pentagon, under his direction, is very clearly profiting his old company, Raytheon, with huge contracts on a daily basis that's bolstering its profits and stock price. This is but a single example. There are countless others. The Matrix is a cancer of self-serving criminality. And how many blindly wave their flags, even now, and pretend they are patriots? Is this how we make America great again? Exactly when was America great? Yes, America wields by far the largest, most polluting military on the planet, and that's saying a lot because all military machines are doing the same. It's just a matter of scale, with the U.S. military juggernaut being bigger than the next 10 biggest militaries combined. But my question, again, is this: exactly when was America great, morally speaking? I recognize and acknowledge that there are many individually honorable men and women in the ranks of the U.S. military, but how can we not consider the ultimate motives and agendas of the criminal empire they serve? Has America spread freedom and democracy around the world? Really? Is that what the U.S. military has been doing over the last 100+ years, as it has conquered, invaded, or otherwise occupied nearly as many countries, almost 100, all over the world? Freedom and democracy? Anyone who believes that lie needs to wake up. It's about empire and the resources needed to sustain it. Make America great again? How? By killing off what's left of the web of life? No thanks. The once thriving forests that surrounded my Northern California off-grid home are now deafeningly silent and dying by the day. The teeming with life wilderness that I trekked through in solitude for many years is completely disintegrating. Dead trees everywhere, almost no wildlife except the occasional bewildered deer or half-starved bear. The symphony of bird songs that once woke me in the mornings as I slept soundly on the forest floor are gone. Nothing. Only silence. And how do the power structure programmed so-called patriots respond when they hear such criticism of their country, or rather the criminal cabal that controls it? They lash out without a clue. I get messages telling me that I should love my country, apparently with my eyes wide shut, or I should leave, they say. What a pitiful response from people that pretend they're patriotic. And no, this isn't patriotism. This is programmed blind allegiance to a criminal cabal masquerading as a legitimate government while using the U.S. military machine to loot, plunder, pillage, and pollute any country anywhere that possesses the resources the Western Empire needs to sustain itself. So to those that send me the type of comments I just mentioned, here's my response. Yes, this is my country, including the dying forests and web of life that surround me, a web of life on which my life, my children's, and all of our lives completely depend. And yes, I will fight to defend it till my last breath. For those who don't yet see it or comprehend it, the party's over. The brutalizing of the planet in the attempt to sustain the completely unsustainable, aka the military-industrial societal juggernaut of destruction, is in its death throes. More headlines on weather warfare and the coming collapse. This one from SciTechDaily.com. Unprecedented wonder. Tropical Cyclone Freddy's record-breaking month-long journey across the Indian Ocean, wiping out third world countries and populations in its path, back and forth. Unprecedented what this storm did. Climate engineering certainly connected to that equation. From AccuWeather, death toll soars in Malawi following destructive Cyclone Freddy, as I just made mention of. From thehill.com, this updated report, giant seaweed blob twice the width of the U.S. takes aim at Florida. From BBC, why East Antarctica is a sleeping giant of sea level rise. It's coming. Next, marine heat waves are sweeping oceans around the world. And this from the UK Guardian, ecosystem collapse inevitable. Unless wildlife losses are reversed, they're only accelerating. Are we to become paralyzed with angst and fear, thus rendering us of no use in this most critical battle to sound the alarm and turn the tide? No. Consider the following from Robert F. Kennedy. It is from countless diverse acts of courage and belief that human history is shaped. Each time a person stands up for an ideal or acts to improve the lot of others or strikes out against injustice, he sends forth a tiny ripple of hope, and crossing each other from a million different centers of energy and daring, those ripples build a current which can sweep down the mightiest walls of oppression and resistance. Here's some final points to ponder as the wider horizon grows ever darker. There has always been tyranny amongst the ranks of the human race and those willing to obey it. But there has also always been the few that resolve themselves to stand against the tyranny, no matter what, till the brutal bitter end. And if enough summon the courage to take such a stand, we may yet accomplish profound good even at this late hour. As stated at the closing of the groundbreaking geoengineeringwatch.org documentary, The Dimming, any one of us could be the final pebble that triggers the landslide of awakening. This must never be forgotten. Going silently into the night is not an option. We must never yield. We must never give up. So long as we are still standing, we are not yet beaten. Reaching a critical mass of awareness is the only way forward in this all-important battle to expose the insanity in our skies and on the ground. This effort will take absolutely all of us. See the activist suggestions link on the homepage of geoengineeringwatch.org to learn specific details about how you can help to move this fight forward. Please make your voice heard. Make every day count. Time is not on our side. We must summon the courage to keep our faces to the wind and march headlong into the gathering storm. All that we hold dear is in the balance. Until next week, stay strong. This is Dane Wigington with geoengineeringwatch.org.
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Forbidden History Live and Ask Dezert-Owl. It is a call-in program, ladies and gentlemen. It's the original Thought Transliteration Project, but we talk Forbidden History. We talk, political science. We could talk about the fraud of money, the banking. I've covered quite a gamut of topics, being a political activist, but also and networking with all the great people that were forerunners. I felt like I was a latecomer when I got involved, in 1990. But the interviews, I could interview anybody that wrote a book. You call and say, hey, I've got a broadcast, I want to interview you, and they're good to go. And you can pick their brain and learn a lot. So it's quite an experience. But of course, all my life I've hit the books. I read 12 books at one time. I couldn't just read one book. I had a stack of books near my couch, and I would circulate through them, read a section, one section out of each book every day, if not twice a day sometimes, and on every topic, science, history, physics, scriptures, mythology, all of those things. I wanted to read it all so I could make sense out of our confused world, and I became good at piecing puzzles together, and didn't have to read a whole book to get the message. And so I also credit the Heavenly Father, because the anointing is truth, and the anointing then is the ability to see truth and to spell it out correctly. Okay. And by the way, with the toxicity that our planet is facing, from above, from below, and through the airwaves, you name it, they're doing it in all different ways. We're getting bombarded, and you need to protect your health. So I encourage you to go to TerraImmune. I think we need to put the link in the chat, Ninja. TerraImmuneHealth.shop. TerraImmuneHealth.shop, and check out their products. I've got mine still coming, and Ninja has some coming her way as well, down in Sydney, and it should be there in about a week for her. They were making a concerted effort to get it quickly to those who are outside the U.S. So I don't know what method they're using. We're learning as we go, but also I told them to get me some graphics, and we want to promote their product, because that zeolite, is key. Not to mention the humic acid and the other ingredients. I still don't know, everything that's in these two different products. One's for viral, and one is for biological, bacteriological, and the environment. So okay, and this is by some friends. Okay, I've got some friends that are formulators, and Randy, one of the key people, made a point to give me a call and tell me about it. And boy, don't I need it. I know I need it, and Ninja needs it for sure. Chi needs some of that. I hope he'll get an order as well, and we can then find out how well it's really working for each of us, and then give you a better declaration of how it's working for us. But I would say everybody at this time needs this type of a product. Okay, and by the way, just real quick before we get into our read, the question is, what happened to those 1 million soldiers from World War I who were all Jews, blazing their machine guns against the other Aryans? Aryans against Aryans. No honor among Aryans, I guess. Well, out of those 1 million German soldiers in World War I, a bunch of them became officers. They became German officers in World War II. And it was Chi who set me straight on this, because I didn't, this is where we're piecing things together. And he's living, having gone to Germany, lives around, the Germanic peoples and everything. He knew that most of all the German officers were Jews. So there it is. Okay, it's all on the table, and so they got to pretend to be the victim, because they're the ones who are committing genocide on our planet, waging all the war, waging it, ladies and gentlemen, against good, innocent people. They're never needed. But you see, they were buying some time, that for that final countdown, because they had to, as Montesquieu said in France around somewhere in the 1700s, he wrote the book The Spirit of Law, or The Spirit of the Law. He said that all of the wars for the last 2,000 years have done nothing other than to serve as depopulation programs for one another's nation. Wow, he really must have known something, right? Depopulation programs? Well, that figures, right? Now that we've pieced it all together and realized that the Soviet Union Stalin front and the German Hitler front and the Churchill owned by the bankers, lock, stock, and barrel front, Lloyd's of London, City of London, and then of course Roosevelt, Illuminati, Roosevelt, all in the hands of banking. The banking front controlled all four. Oh, let's not forget Hirohito in Japan as well, who had all of his billions of dollars in Switzerland, ladies and gentlemen, right? In Switzerland. And he was kind of wanting to hang out and kiss and hug Hitler. They were like, interesting again, those signs and symbols that rule the world. Let's look at the German flag. The German flag, the swastika, is a symbol of the light particle coming down to the earth. Is a symbol of the light particle. So it's a sun symbol, and it rarely represents peace, right? But they turned it into a warfaring symbol. The guise of peace really bringing you war. And then look at the flag in Japan. It's the sunrise. Sunrise is in the east first, and they've got the red sun. And so what did Germany do? They changed their flag, of course, right? And so look at the German flag. It's red at the bottom, orange in the middle, and black on top. It's a sunrise. They're still using the sunrise because the people that are waging warfare on mankind, doing it all to us, are still claiming to be of the force of the sun, even though they are mother sons of darkness, which is what Freemasonic means. Mother sons of darkness. Wonderful group of people, ladies and gentlemen, isn't it? That's TerraMuneHealth.shop, by the way. If anybody doesn't see the chat on a future audio, Terra, TerraMune Health, TerraMuneHealth.shop. You can look them up. You'll see they're in Vermont. Okay, if you look them up, or it's New Hampshire. Was it maybe Vermont or New Hampshire, but they're in the upper New England states. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, it's the greatest show on earth. But I hate bringing on the bad news. I'm just like Dane. He calls his the bad news broadcast, and he's got no good news, none. But we do. We actually have some good news here, and it is that the good news is this is not our world. Okay, and so we're gonna share that information. We're going to shift gears now and talk about some positive stuff. There's people that want to destroy our and in the words, okay, in the words I've got some really I'm going to just do one. I'm going to give you a sampler because we're going to do words last, but I just want to give you oh, here it is, okay, here it is. So the hippie movement in the U.S. of A. It was that's back in the 1960s, right? We had the hit what we called the hippie movement. It was all about peace and love, and boy, it was a great time to grow up for me as a teenager. And the older crowd, that were like 4 and 5 years older than me, they were the ones who were really in the heyday of the hippie. I was a late starter. By the time I was getting into 17, 18 years old, the hippie movement was already dissipating, and but anyway, isn't it interesting that the culture about peace and love that was blossoming in San Francisco in particular, that they were, in other words, it was centered there in Frisco, and it was the cultural center of the hippie movement. We could say, San Francisco, big time cultural center, and they don't have wintertime like we do in New York and New Jersey and all that. So it was it was easier to maybe grow flowers. I don't know, but certainly the produce we got from the San Fernando Valley and all that was significant for the East Coast in the wintertime. But so the peace and love movement, the cultural movement, has its at the epicenter of that is a place that was called, get this, Haight-Ashbury. Haight-Ashbury. In other words, hate, from ashes to ashes, bury them. Right? Hear that? Hate, the first word, hate, you can't miss it. Ash, like Ashkenazi, you know who we were just talking about for the beginning of this program, Ashkenazi, right there, or is it ashes to ashes? Well, maybe it's both. And to bury them, hate Ashbury. Wow, you know, this is the game they have played on us, and we prove it out with words every program we do over and over and over. These people have a party on you and I. They have no compulsion to destroy life. While they claim to be the victims on the planet, they're well organized, ladies and gentlemen. They're well organized against us. And so we've got nothing to lose to talk about it because they're coming for all of our families, all the people. There was no need for starvation. You know, that with all the wealth that's in this world, everybody could have been fed. They could have, you know, organized a volunteer system where if you don't have children, you get extra money. You know, they could have done that because it's all invisible anyway. There is no money, right? But they could have made this a beautiful world. They could have, but instead they've destroyed it. It's over. If you listen to the work of Dane Wigington, he'll be on later on today. Okay, with his next program every Saturday at around 7 p.m. Eastern time. The next program is usually up, and I'm going to go do a screen share now while I'm talking. But we're going to now have some good news, ladies and gentlemen, while they want to kill us. Okay, screen share. There we go. Boom, boom. And we're on with the next part of the program, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget, you can call in. You never call in, and that's your problem. I really, would love to hear from somebody that wants to talk the stuff of life, And where am I going? Going to my Word document. So it's open at any time. If you want to call in, it's open. Okay. I know I got to go up with that now, Ninja. It's like almost becoming second nature with me. Here we go. Going up to 1. And I found out it was actually the best view of that is actually 198. I got to turn on some light now because it's really bright. But, call in. I thought we might have a new friend calling in today who's out of New Jersey, a trucker. And we've talked on the side. And maybe he's trying to feel out the program, though. He's trying to figure out, okay, where does Desert get all this stuff, man? The guy must be drinking too much fluoride or something. No. Wish it was true. I'd love to be wrong in all of these things that I bring on here, ladies and gentlemen. But the irony is, I know what I'm talking about, and it's needful to talk about things that are pertaining to who we are, where we are, why we are, and where we are, and what are we going to do about it? Okay, so we can't just cry crocodile tears and and complain. That's what some people like to do. But that's when I wrote the quote. I hear people complaining all the time, and I wrote the quote. Once we can begin to comprehend the true nature of things as they really are, then we can comprehend that there is nothing more to complain about. Okay? There's nothing to complain about. This is the way it is on planet Earth. A bunch of very wicked people that are working behind the scenes. And I'm going to do a little quick fix up here. And yeah, we got the wind blowing out there. Control save. And so our in English, if you're an angler, you're a hooker. You're hooking get somebody on the hook, and that's the angle of the Anglo-Saxons. The word angel is never in our scriptures. That's one of the words we can talk about. I'm gonna talk about key words when we go to the words ANGEL. But I wanted to do a read first off from. And by the way, Skype. Okay, I gave you the number for the call in 608-566-7295. 608-566-7295, and then also Skype, Free America Radio, all one word, Free America Radio. Says it's in Kingsland, Georgia, but I'm actually in Millersburg, Ohio. Okay, so I just never changed that. So let's find out what was going on back then. Let's hear some news that we never got from the you-know-whos, because they stole all of our scriptures from us, stole the library, brought it to Constantinople, the Roman Empire. Constantine, who was not so great, took over and created morphed Mithraism, paganist Mithraism, into Christianity and the beginning of Catholicism. So, lost books of Peter, but his name was never Peter. And the second line is the correction. The lost shulfars, shulfar for soul fire, ram's horn, and a whole lot more. Scribe is in there, scribe fire. So the lost books of Kephe, the shulfar, lost shulfars of Kephe, and the forgotten letters of Kephe, brother of Yeshua. And James is a code. I now, when we get into it, I'll show you, because it really stumped me. How do we get James out of Jacob? How do we get, which is correctly Yaakov or Yaakov for shorter, or Jacob for that hook. They got that hook on there, Jacob. And then how did it become James? There's no connection, you see, none. But now I get it. Just discovered that this past week. Okay, so it's about this is a letter, forgotten letter of Kephe for James, brother of Yeshua, regarding all of our printed copies and translations of the sacred Shultres, scriptures, and the passing on of all sacred Shultres, scriptures. The proclamation of Kephe, Peter, also known as the Kerygmata, the Kerygmata Peteru. Kephe, Peter, to James, Yaakov, a healer and a pathfinder, bishop of the anointed perfect circle of the called out ones. That's the church. The most correct is the people of the way. They took away the people of the way, which is where it comes from, is from Levi, which was corrupted into Levi. See, if you can follow what I'm saying right here, you can see the damage that's already been done just by pointing all these things out. Hit. They've smashed our tradition right out the gate. That's the priesthood. That's the Assyrians out of Babylon. Remember, the priesthood came back from Babylon. What they bring with them? The world Zionist domination religious handbook called the Babylonian Talmud. Okay, knowing well. I wonder if I got a picture of that Babylonian Talmud here. Is that it? No. Oh yeah, I do. Here we go. Is that it? No. Dang it. Never mind. I put it. I'm cleaning up my desktop, and I probably now. I said, I'm not going to refer to that now. Than I was, right? All right. So okay. So here we go. To James, knowing well that you, my brother, eagerly take great pains about what is for the mutual benefit of us all, I am earnestly asking you not to pass. I got to change that. I'll just delete it. And then I am. All right, there we go. Sorry about that, but I'm proofing it at the same time. This is coming out within a week. I hope to be done with this. And it's titled The Mistranslated and Lost Scriptures of the Bible. It's got 5 sections in here, okay? 5 sections of lost writings and scriptures like you've not read them before, because I've become adept in the code, and therefore I can bring back what we would call the most original or the original thought within this, okay? So knowing well that you, my brother, eagerly take great pains about what is for the mutual benefit of us all, I am earnestly asking you not to pass on to anyone of the common nations any of the books of my seed planting, my teaching, of which I am here forwarding to you, not even to anyone of our own tribe before some period of a preset probation. But if some of them have been found to be worthy, you may indeed hand them over to them in the same way that Moeshan, Moses, handed over his office of a teacher, seed planter, to the 72. So he was just really then bringing on the caution here, because there was a failure in their operation, basically, with the enemy coming in and scarfing up their work and then retranslating them. For this reason as well, the fruit of his caution can be seen up to this very day, since those who belong to his tribe preserve everywhere the same rule in their traditional following in the one, the Yahweh, who is known as the Lord. It should be a Lord here. I have to go back and look at that this work, by the way, is coming out of the New Testament Apocrypha, volume 1 and 2, which came out of Germany by Heinecke and I can't read it sideways here. Let me see here. Hennecke and Schneemelker, printed by Westminster. Okay, and so the New Testament Apocrypha, 2 volumes, one of the first major collections I got of lost writings back near 50 years ago, and or 40 years ago, 45, and okay, so that's where it comes from, and so these are all printed in offset works. They're not included in our shultres, in our scriptures, and this is the greatest scam, because the people I was talking about at the beginning of the program are controlling all academia, all universities, all publishing houses, at least the big ones. Simon and Schuster, go, like that. Amazon, or forgive me, they're controlling all, ladies and gentlemen. They got it lock, stock, and barrel. Lock, stock, and barrel. So they only let out what they want to let out, and they let the scholars look like scholars, and they're bringing out the work, but they've already been edited. They've changed the words, the key words. That's what I'm saying. For this reason, the fruit of his caution can be seen up to this very day, since those who belong to his tribe preserve everywhere the same rule in their traditional following of the Yahweh. And in their own line of conduct, those scriptures, shultres, within their many variable senses, being unable, therefore, to incline them to assume another attitude. Rather, they attempt, on the basis of the rule that has been handed down to them, to harmonize the so-called contradictions of the scriptures. If haply someone who does not know the traditions is perplexed by the ambiguous utterances of the prophets, prophet, star navigators. On this account, they permit no one to seed plant, teach, unless he first learns how the shultres, the scriptures, should be read. For this reason, maintaining among themselves the pure tradition of one Yahweh, one shelter, or original for law, and one hope. That's where the king's house, your house was really the king's shelter, and they couldn't intrude. And one hope, opening. Chapter 2. In this same effort now, so that the same effect may also take place among us, hand over all of the books of my seed planting teaching in the same way of this great mystery to our other brothers in the 70, these primary chosen, that they may adequately prepare all those who are future candidates for the position of seed planter teacher. Ninja, I'm getting some like wind sound. Am I muted from your end so that I don't hear that? It's like a tunnel sound.
I don't know. I can't go to the other screen, otherwise I have to hang on.
All right, well, it's open. It's open, and I need you to do that, okay?
Okay. Just let me check.
Yeah, it's blowing in my ears. All right, so I'll continue. 2, if we do not proceed in this way, all of our words on the truth will all be split into, let me read that again. And if we do not proceed in this way, all of our words on the truth will be split into a great number of divergent views and opinions. And as, who was it? Ignatius pointed out that the work of a Christian is not the work of an opinion, right? But of the greatness of, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Is it still going in your ear because it's all muted
no.
at this end?
No, I think you fixed it. Thank you.
Okay.
I would have said something. All right. This I do not know. This I do not need to know as a star navigator, because I have already seen the beginnings of this darkened blindness before me. For some from among the nations, the generations of many names, that's what Gentiles is implying, the generations or the nations of many names, have rejected my pure teaching, seed planting, of the natural shelter. And they have instead preferred a lawless, reckless, and absurd doctrine of a man who uses my name. Now he's referring to Simon Magus, or Simon Magi, Simon Magnus. There's different ways of pronouncing his name. This was there at the beginning when Yeshua was. That was the one when they said there's other people that are, trying to do miracles and healing in your name. Should we stop them? And he says, no, there's nobody who does a work in my name that can speak lightly about me. But it was actually Simon Magnus back then. That was who was being referred to. I found that out by getting this latest lost writing that I got out of England, and and it's more clear in there. Boy, so many pieces have been just pulled out, and the objective now is to put it back. Let's put it back correctly, knowing the game that has been played, ladies and gentlemen. It is possible because Yeshua is the guide. He's the one who brings the anointing on, and who leads and guides into all truth. And the truth is not a part of any lie. And he said there's nothing in secret that cannot be known. There's nothing hidden that cannot be revealed. Nothing. Okay? Get it? Nothing. And I had to get a drink there, forgive me. It is true that some have attempted, while I am still alive, to distort my words by interpretations of a wide variety, as if I had been teaching a dissolution of the law tradition. Although I am already of this view and opinion. You see, so it's a double standard, because, and not in a negative sense, but the point is that the Old Covenant stories and everything in the Old Covenant is relative to where we are in our everlasting covenant, which is not new, but it is the from the beginning, you see. And but they could not receive it. That's why the first tablets were destroyed, because they could not receive the truth, the absolute truth. They were still in the darkness of that old world. And so what he's saying is, that the implication is the reason we need it, because these stories are our tradition, and these stories are metaphors and allegories and traditional statements about how we got to where we are today. It's a linear story, and it's all about Yeshua. All of it is about Yeshua, and then he was in on it all the way through as well. Okay, so let's try this again. Although I am already of this view or opinion, I have not expressed it openly, but only what Yahweh strictly forbids. For to be involved in such things means to act contrary to the pure shelter or the natural law of the Yahweh. Yahweh is the most primitive of what people are saying Yahweh, but there is no W, The W is in the flipped over M, and it should be a V, but it's a tetragrammaton. Tetra means 3. So how do we got 4 letters when it's a tetra? You see? And so that's right out, and we don't ever get it. We hear it every time we hear it, and we don't ever get it. You know, tetra means 3. So they put a 4th letter there because we're stupid. And it takes a lifetime to figure this stuff out, or to have it revealed by the Great One, because he knows the problem. He knows the game's been played on us. So he's a revealer. Okay? And so you're hearing it here first, all right? Because I don't know anyone out there that is stating this just about the sacred name. The tetra, the Y for the sun, the H, the bridge for the earth. The Y is the yellow for the sun. The H is the bridge for the earth. And the V is the softer light of the moon. In this instance, it represents the lunar light because there is no tail. On the Y, on top of the Y is the V, and it's got a tail, a ray of light coming down. But the V is in here in these 3 representing the moon, sun, earth, and moon. And so, you know, we could say that the moon, that's why they actually say it has a dark side, right? Because all of the moon gets light at one point in the month. The light goes around the moon. That's why it gets dark. It's on the other side. It's on the other side. You see, so all of the sides of the moon get light. And so the dark side of the moon is that the moon also represents the virgin softer light. You know, but it's also a symbol for the occultic. Okay, so there's a duality there. And so where was I? Let me try this again. So for to be involved in such things means to act contrary to the pure shelter of the Yahweh, which was revealed by Moeshan and was confirmed by our Naga healer, the pure breather of light, Yeshua, of course, in its perpetual and everlasting continuance, as he breathes, not breathed. You see, this is where the ED word, you know, and I'm going in there cleaning it up. And now that I know the code a little better, we don't want, breathe means to remove, right? ED means to remove, and that's why I put the Z. He didn't breathe, take it out, boys. No, he breathes because he's still breathing right now. Right now, it's still breathing because I'm breathing, and I'm breathing it to you. You see, so that's how he still breathes. And so as he breathes, the sun, earth, and moon will pass away, but not one yuth or yud, which is correctly youth, which is the period, one dot, or one title, that is the symbol or the letters, will pass away from the pure shelter until everything has been fulfilled, finished. Remember the term, it is finished, okay? So that happened while Yeshua was still on this earth. He said it is finished. And then things changed. Then there was a transformation of the state of operation, because we went in, now have gone into, after 3 days of stillness and darkness, and he's in the grave, the metamorphosis is occurring. When he rises from the dead, the great age of golden light is on the scene. Even though it gets occulted by the occultists, it is still the great golden age of light. Still today, because Yeshua, it's a new covenant. It's from the beginning. It's an everlasting covenant. Everlasting, you see. 6, he breathed. He breathed. Ninja, what's all that noise?
My mute keeps coming, keeps unmuting itself. It's really weird. I just have to keep an eye on it. Can I just ask, we're getting a request from Thea to make the writing bigger.
Make the writing bigger? I'm already 198. That's full. I can't make it any bigger.
Okay. I'll just passing it on.
Yeah, it's probably, is she using not using a computer and using a device?
I can read it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's I maxed out. I took note of that last time when I did the review, and I went up 10 more to 198. 200% is max. Okay. So he breathes. Sorry, Thea, but just I don't know what your device you're using. at the moment. Okay, so he breathes this, knowing that everything was about to be quickly transformed and completed. But those individuals who, I do not know how, allege that they are at home in my thoughts and wish to expound the ASHAVORZ, the words which they heard from me, as if better than myself who spoke them. Let's read this again. All right, everything has been finished. So he breathes this, knowing that everything was about to be quickly transformed and completed. I lost the train of thought here because of the, anyway, it's okay because it's still, it's making a point on its own anyway. He breathes the above, knowing that everything was about to be quickly transformed. Right, like I said right here, it is finished, right? And it would seem pretty dark, but it's transformed and completed. Transformed and completed, finished. And so he breathes this, knowing everything was about to be quickly transformed and completed. But those individuals who I do not know how allege that they are at home in my thoughts and wish to expound the ASHAVORZ, the words which they heard from me, as if better than myself who spoke them. I just want to, I gotta fix this. All right, good enough. Okay. Of who spoke them. To those who they then instruct, they say that it is my opinion, to which concepts or ideals I never gave any thought. Okay. And I'm making an adjustment here on the program. I hope I didn't mess anything up. Let me see here. Okay, boom. All right, that's where it belongs, right there. I run out of space when I can't get another line out of the deal. I'd mess up the whole document, so I got to be careful on that. Control save. Right. So now, if they falsely assert such contrary things while I am still alive, how much more then after my mortal passing will those who come later on venture to do these same things? Well, that's a good point, Kefe. What a good point. Let's see that one again. Now, if they falsely assert all of these contrary things that we just read while I am still alive, how much more then will they twist my words after my mortal passing? And will those who come later on venture to do these same things? Good point, Kefe, because they did it. In fact, they just got rid of all of your writings except for 1st and 2nd Peter. And Peter don't even exist. How do you like that? Whoa, what a deal. Let's do a cliffhanger, Ninja, and go to a song. I want to rest my voice. And then when we get back, we'll do chapter 3, okay? And so you're tuned in right here to the Forbidden History Live series on Ask Dezert-Owl, and hope that somebody might call in before the program's done. I know I always got Ninja as backup, but that's cheating. I want to hear. I'd love to hear from somebody who's not called in before, but I'll take any caller, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, so don't go away. We're going to be right back with more of the same, what they didn't want you to know, that we tell right here on Dezert-Owl. Glad you're tuned in. Still time to call your friends. Be right back.
There's a sunny little country south of Mexico, where the winds are gentle and the waters flow, but breezes breezes aren't the only things that blow in El Salvador. If you took the little lady for a moonlight drive, odds are still good you'd come back alive. But everyone is innocent until they arrive in El Salvador. If the rebels take a bus on the Grand Highway, the government destroys a village miles away. The man on the radio says now we'll play south of the border. And in the morning the natives say, we're happy we've lived another day. Last night 1,000 more passed away in El Salvador. There's a television crew here from ABC, filming Rio Limpa and the refugees, calling murdered children the tragedy of El Salvador. Before the government camera 20 feet away, another man is asking for continued aid, food and medicine and hand grenades for El Salvador. There's a thump, a rumble and the buildings sway. A soldier fires the acid spray. The public address system starts to play south of the border. You run for cover and hide your eyes. You hear the screams from paradise. They fall in further than you realize. El Salvador, la 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 la. Well, just like Poland is protected by her Russian friends, the junta is assisted by Americans. And if $60 million seems too much to spend in El Salvador, they say for $500 million they could do it right. Bomb all day and burn all night until there's not a living thing upright in El Salvador. They'll continue training troops in the USA and watch the nuns that got away and teach their military bands to play south of the border and kill the people to set them free, who put this price on their liberty. Don't you think it's time to leave El Salvador?
And welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Forbidden History Live on Ask Desert Owl and the Original Thought Transliteration Project. Yeah, it's a big title, but we got a lot to talk about. That's the thing, you know. We're covering a lot of ground, and you know, when you learn so much, ladies and gentlemen, you realize that when the Heavenly Father gives you a big download. And an ability to dissect and make sense out of things that are going on in our world. Like, you know who that El Salvador story is about now, right? They're the same people that do it all over the world. It's nothing new in El Salvador. It's the same group. And it's really sad. It's really sad. But when you know something and you know too much, you like the Heavenly Father says, if He gives you a talent, you go bury it somewhere, you're in trouble. And so I actually have an extreme obligation to share with my friends out here this information that is crucial to knowing who we are, where we are, why we are, and when we are, who's doing it to us, and what are we going to do about our situation. Is there any possible good news? And the good news is, this is not our world. Not our world, their world. Let them have it, let them have it, because nothing's going to stop them. Nothing. People keep talking about white hats coming in, the Green Beret, Nasara, they got $20 trillion. Everybody's going to be rich and all of this crazy stuff. Or Trump's coming back in, and the Jesuit agent who's got a twin tower, got a Trump Tower. You don't have a Trump Tower because you're not a good follower. It's just amazing. Or the aliens are coming to save us. I forgot that one. The aliens, And I do have a lightning going on outside now with the wind as well and rain. So if the power goes out, you'll know what happened, ladies and gentlemen. They didn't come for me. It's just a temporary delay. Okay, so let's get back to the ASHAVORZ, the words, and let me pull up the. Can't do that. That thing gets stuck every now and then when we do screen share. But glad you're tuned in, and hope that you're telling your friends about the broadcast. Remember, we get no algorithm. So the only way people are they're not gonna be watching YouTube and have us pop up on the side margin. It ain't gonna happen. It could happen. It's possible, but it's not likely because we are suppressed. Okay, because we have a way of saying it that rubs people the wrong way, and we're going to be headed to Rumble. We're working on getting there. We just so you know, we have Forbidden History Archive, all one word, at Rumble. Forbidden History Archive. We have our test posting there, and there's a second sister channel now to it that Ninja is putting up. It's all one word. Ask Dezert-Owl, all one word. So just scope them out, subscribe, get set up on Rumble, because that's where we're going. Because we'll. I'm sure we'll meet a lot of crazy people too, because when it's a free forum, it all happens. So that's part of the territory. But anyway, we're glad to have a small cottage ministry here with just the people that really do get it, because it's inspiring, to meet some wonderful friends that interact here and from around the world actually. And got David up there in UK as well. I forgot. Did I mention UK? Yeah. And I got Portugal. Who's Portugal? Philip in Portugal. Another friend. He's invited me down to his castle, and of course, never going to be able to afford to go there. And Portugal's really getting it. And there's that thunder, and my lights are flickering. So take note, Ninja, and we'll wrap it up. If that happens, you can play a song. You can play the closing song. Yep. If I get disconnected, okay?
Okay.
And that's how we can cap it off. So you take over at that point, all right?
Okay.
And all right, so chapter 3. In order now, so that this may not happen anymore, I earnestly ask you not to any longer pass on the books of my teachings, of which I send you, to anyone of our own tribe or to any other foreigner before a period of probation. But if someone has been properly examined and truly found to be worthy, then do let them be handed over in this approach. The way in which Moishan, handed over his office of a teacher to the 70, all in order so they could preserve all of the doctrines and further extend the codes, ciphers, and rules of the truth and legacy, while interpreting everything in accordance with our tradition and not letting anything be dragged into error through ignorance and uncertainty in their own minds,
to then bring others into the same deep pit of destruction. What seems to me to be urgent and required, I have now indicated for you. So whatever you, my sovereign brother, determine to be right, do carry out by your hand appropriately into effect. Farewell for now. Shimon Kefe, falsely known as Simon Peter. And by the way, I was thinking for Thea, I sent you a copy of the document. So you can open up the Word document on your computer. If it's for some reason too small, I don't know why it would be. But I'm on page number 213, on the document, and I'm on part 2. Okay, part 2, right in the middle. And
I think it's just because it's a different layout, like it's formatted differently compared to the other ones. So
I have no way to know. You can do a print screen if you want, Thea, so we could look at it. A print screen on your keyboard, okay, and then put it in Skype and show it to Ninja, and we can check it. I can check it out later as well. All right, so part 2, the response from Yakova. It should be, well, I have it on the side, Yakove. I should have done it the other way. James. Now, when James had read this letter, he called all the senior Zultors, elders, enlightened Els, together, and read it in front of all of them and breathes. Shouldn't be breathes. Got to fix that. Ed means remove, don't forget. You don't want education, right? Education is bad stuff. It means what they remove from your curriculum and you don't know about. Okay, so he read it in front of all of them and breathes. As it is required and proper, our own Kefe, Peter, has called our attention to the fact that we must be very cautious in all matters regarding the truth, and that we should pass on the books of all, and of course back then it would have been scrolls or zero, the books of all his seed plantings, teaching. Look at that. I mean, he had books. He didn't have 2 little teeny weeny, 3-page letters, 1 Peter, 2 Peter. He had books. He had a mountain of scrolls. After years, of writing, of all of his experiences, there's even a Gospel of Peter that was found in a monk's cave in Meitzar, Egypt. And it was a missing piece of the puzzle. It is so authoritative by anybody who has studied the lost writings like I have to know that it's a legitimate document. Absolutely. And in it says, and Herod refused to wash his hands after Pilate passed the bowl on to him. So Herod was the one, as you were reading the Aquarian Gospel, who tortured and crucified Yeshua, you see? Because his father didn't do it right, so he wanted to finish him off because his father thought he did it, right? So amazing, ladies and gentlemen. So where am I here? So, and he has called to our attention the fact that we must be very cautious in all matters regarding the truth, and that we should pass on the books of all his seed plantings, teachings that have been forwarded to us, not indiscriminately, but only to the perfect spiritual characters, ready for the position of teacher, seed planter, and Ashan, blood of the earth, who have clearly been circumcised in heart and follows the pure way of a true Moeshe Yankeh Christian. And as well, that's Mashiachim, and as well that we should not pass on all the books to him at once, so that if he shows indiscretion in the handling of the first collection, a collection of books, wow, what must have been in there, huh? If he shows indiscretion in the handling of the first collection, he may not be entrusted with any of the others. Good plan. For this reason, he ought to be proved for no less than 6 years. Proved out for 6 years. And but I guess they were serious, right? And thereafter, according to the way of Moishan, let him again be brought to a river or a fountain where there is living, running water, and let this regeneration of the righteous, that's the perfect in the flowing light of creation, take place, but not that he should swear by any oath, since that is not permitted, but rather that he should only be asked to stand in the Voltsar, the water, and to affirm, or aver, speak truth as to his commitment, just as we ourselves were made to do at the very first moment of our regeneration, becoming the second born, to the result that we would no longer close our eyes, our A's, in blindness, in darkness, given the ambiguous term of sin, which really implies the black sun, not the right word. Captor 2. Let me take a sip here. Hang on a minute. I'm feeling it. I go right out the gate, and I go further than I plan on it, and then I get trouble at the end. Here, we got one more section to go. One more with the words. Got to do some words today. Sure, we're going to at least approach it. We'll see how many we get. Captor 2. In so doing, let him declare as my witness, I invoke the sun, earth, and moon, for through these primordial symbols are all things to be comprehended, as well as before the all-pervading air, without which I am unable to breathe, that I will always be trustworthy for him, who hands over to me the books of the pure teachings, and I will not pass on to anyone in any way these books which he may impart to me, that I will neither copy them nor allow them to come into the hands of a copyist or a scribe, neither will I myself do this, nor will I do it through another, and not in any way be beyond this, as through clever means or through storing them carelessly by depositing them with another or through underhand agreement, nor in any other manner or by the means of any other craft will I pass them on to any other third party. So they were serious, right? And they knew the problem because the enemy was always trying to infiltrate them. The secret societies were back then. The government, the priesthood, all following the world domination, classic handbook on Zion, the Zionist conquering of the world, maintaining control over the world, the Talmud. And so that was a mouthful. And what an opener on that, because the sun, earth, and moon, you'll hear me talking about that. And look at what he says here. Let me read that again. In so doing, let him declare as my witness, I invoke the sun, earth, and moon, for through these primordial symbols are all things to be comprehended. All things are to be comprehended. You see, so it's a foundational thing. When I talked last week, and actually I had it right here. Let me just pull it up. It's on the word section. Where did I have that? Right here. Okay. Well, I've got to bump that up now. Okay. Let's go. Right here. So knowledge of the three. I talked about the knowledge of the three, and that's what the Schultres meant. Schultres for the original word for scriptures, and it's the knowledge of the three. And then I gave the formula: 1 equals 2, 2 equals 3, and 3 equals infinity. Tau Zen, the infinite at the end. At the end comes the infinite. You see? And so the 3 is represented in the primordial as sun, earth, and moon, the symbols of creation, because without those 3, you cannot have life on Earth, even though the other outer planets also have an influence on our geology, not to mention possibly our sun and our own psychology. It could be. Okay, so only after continuing in verse 2, only after I have proved someone to be worthy, proving him as I myself have been proved, or even more, in no case, for no less than 6 years. If he proved to be a perfect spiritual candidate for the position of a seed planter, teacher, I will then hand them over to him, just as I have received them, and then certainly in agreement with my bishop, my pathfinder. Chapter 3. Or otherwise, although he may be either my son or a brother or a friend or any other relation, if he is not found worthy, I will keep this information away from him, since it does not befit him, nor could it benefit him. Because these are really deep, and the way people were back then, in that primitive time. There's a lot, it was a different time, but it's almost no different today in the sense that people don't get it. That's still the same. But the difference with what I'm doing with the translation project is, one, people never learned how to read, and then they've been brainwashed into thinking the 27 little books, are the only scriptures there are, when you see right here that he had a library. Kefe alone had his own library. He had a library of his own writings. It's gone. And so what we have, so I know what the Father is doing with me, because he even gave me the vision 20 years ago when I fasted for 22 days. Because I was being railroaded. I was being, I don't want to say it, run up the river, being framed for a crime I didn't commit, and being tortured in the sense of, psychological and some physical, but the Father, to give me comfort, gave me the vision that I was going to be working with the words, and that's in a story for another day. But basically, it was in my fasting was fasting for 22 days because it was the number of letters in the alphabet, the original alphabet. And I was looking for deliverance and answers. And so I got a vision at the end of 22 days, lost 45 pounds about. And the Father gave me a vision, and in it was telling me that I would be, working with the words in the future, that he had called me out for this reason. And, so I realized that now where we're at today, that we're at the end of the road. We're at the end of the road, ladies and gentlemen. You must know that if you're watching DANE, and if you're listening to my openers, we're at the end, the final countdown. And so I don't know what writings to hold back. I don't know that formula. It seems to me that all of this is now relevant for anybody who wants to transcend and escape this world. It's the end of the Gentile dispensation. That's what it was called. The last days were 2,000 years ago. That's what they were called. It was the end of time and the entrance into eternity through Yeshua, through the everlasting covenant, what could not be received prior, which was available from the beginning, but they could not receive it. Those who came out of Meitzar, Egypt, now can have access to that. And so we're showing all the corruptions. It's all been smashed. It's all been smashed. And so the only thing we've got left is to try to reconstitute it, constitute it, and bring it back. And so so there we are, with that. Okay, so continuing here. Verse 2 again. I will not allow myself either to be frightened or by persecutions, nor to be deceived by any gifts. And even if I should ever become dissuaded that these books are not relevant for my truth, even then I will not pass them on, but will hand them back to the provider. What a strict code. And that's the way it makes sense, right? When I am on a journey, I will carry with me all of the books that are in my possession. But if I find it best not to take them with me, I will not leave them behind in my dwelling, but will consign them to the care of my bishop, the Pathfinder, being of the same tradition, having come down this very same path. If I become ill, and can I see my, I got it backwards here. And I can see my mortal passing approaching before me, I will, if I am without any offspring, proceed in the same way. Now, when he means offspring, he means spiritual offspring. He's not talking about according to the flesh. It's spiritual offspring, which is what we're supposed to do, is bring forth, offspring into the higher to be born a second time, to be the second born. And if I am without any offspring, proceed in this same way. I will not follow these same preceding protocols if at the time of my mortal passing my son is not worthy or is not yet of age. I will then deposit all these books with my bishop, the Pathfinder, so that he may hand them over to my son as soon as he has come of age, my spiritual son, in other words, as soon as he has come of age, and provided he is worthy of the trust. So it would have to be a spiritual son, as a father's own legacy, according to the terms of this declaration. And even Yaganun, John, in the first, second, or third John, somewhere in there, he's saying, he says my spiritual children, something like that, and in his opener. And so, chapter 4, so maintaining that I will proceed in this way, I again invoke the sun, earth, and moon. Those are Elohim, by the way. They're called Elohim, meaning that they are, programmed to serve the Father. These are physical states of creation that all serve the Father. They're Elohim. They have a propensity for the Father. That's why Yeshua could walk on water. That's why he could, do anything. Because everything yielded to him from the atomic level. Everything is Yeshua. He is one with all things in his creation. So maintaining that I will proceed in this way, I again invoke the sun, earth, and moon. For through these primordial symbols are all things to be comprehended. As well before the all-pervading air, without which I am able to breathe, that I will always be trustworthy to him, who hands over to me these zeros, these books of the pure seed plantings. I will keep them in every respect as I have committed, even beyond this measure. If I now observe all these conditions, then my portion will be with the true anointed. But if I were to act against my committed declaration, then may the universe that breathes and the all-pervading ether and Yahweh himself, who is over all and is mightier and more exalted than any other power, be hostile to me. And if ever I should come to follow any other so-called deity, then I aver by he or she as well, that I would not deviate from this commitment of all honor. In addition to all of this, if I am ever false by my own ASHAVOR, my word, then I should be accursed in living, be as dead, and suffer from the eternal banishment. And upon this commitment, let him then partake of the bread and wine, the vena, the metzorol. Bread is metzorol, wine is vena, along with that one who is ever to hand over these zerols, these books, to him. Chapter 5. Then when Yaakov, Jacob, had breathed all of this, the senior L's, the correct word, see, this was 3 years ago. I did this 3 years ago. I now know it's Zultars. It's not L's. L means bent and broken. You see, that's how they played the trick on us again. Your elbow, look at you, you got an elbow, right? Your arm bends, and okay, and so breaks the straight. From the straight, it bends and breaks. So it's Zul, T-Z-O-O-L, Zultor. So I've got to clean this document up. This is where I'm not done with it yet. Got a little more work yet going. But Zultor, see, so der means, it's the D is the T, and the E is of the earth, and so it's an O, symbol of the sun, circle, the Ouroboros. So it's Zultors. Isn't it beautiful to be able to simply back engineer, what has been corrupted? It's so, once you know the root forms, it's not hard at all. It's a science. It's like going to school again, learning for the first time. Okay, because of the Zultors, the enlightened ones who were all pale with fright. Then let me try this again. Then when Yaakov, Jacob, had breathed all of this, the senior enlightened Zultors, the enlightened ones, were all pale with fright. Because now they were setting a new standard. You see, they needed to go further. And so everybody's being put on notice. Upon noticing that they were all in great fear and ever having offended Yaakov, then breathe, hear me, my brothers and fellow servants, servants. If we pass on these books to anyone without any discrimination, and if they are then falsified by some lawless Ashan of some gilded craft, and I like that one, the craft, you know who they are, who destroy the true and original meanings of these ASHAVORZ. Can you say Jesuits? Can you say Vatican? Can you say Masonic? Can you say Kabbalistic? Can you say Talmud? Let's try it again. If we pass on these books to anyone without any discrimination, and if they are then falsified by some lawless Ashan of some gilded craft to destroy the true and original meaning of these ASHAVORZ words, as indeed you have now heard that this is what some have already done, then it will very soon come to pass that any of those who are earnestly seeking after the truth will always be in an extreme danger of being led into true error. The true error. Let's highlight that one. The true error, ladies and gentlemen. And you see, that's the problem, right? Oh, I've got my King James here. You mean King James wouldn't lie to me? I know he's an occultist. I know he burned people at the stake. I know the Pilgrims fled for their life from King James. And they didn't take the King James Bible with them. Wait a minute, what am I saying? Oh, the Pilgrims, yeah, they took to Geneva. That was another bad copy. That came out of Switzerland. Go figure, right? I mean, they got us on every angle. They got us, But that's what they did, ladies and gentlemen. They've changed it all. What you got is a Porky and Bess when you should have had something, that is so beyond our wildest dreams. Even when I present it here, it's only a picture of something that was even greater. No doubt, though, these root forms that I'm revealing to are the absolute root forms. There is only Going to the root is going to the root. You can't go further than the root. And so the forms that I bring on here, this is what Yeshua has revealed for me. And this is how they build by knowing the alphabet. And we're about a program away from doing the alphabet. Okay. I'm getting hoarse. I'm not going to be able to do words. We'll do a couple when I get back, but I need to do a couple programs a week to stay in tune. It's my problem. And poor Ninja, they kidnapped her from me. So we're working on that. So hopefully we'll get back to 2 days a week, because that's going to help me. Going 1 week without talking to virtually anybody, then doing this marathon for 3 hours is now a challenge. But anyway, let's continue here. So for this reason, it is required that we keep all of the books safe. And as we have said, then only hand them out with extreme caution to all of those who truly wish to live, to save others. But if anyone, after he has made such a declaration, does not adhere to it, then he will rightly suffer eternal separation from the light. And why should he not be banished to ruin? He who has been guilty of a perpetual corruption of many others. Upon hearing this reasoning, the senior Zultors, the enlightened ones, were satisfied with Yaakov's own conclusion and breathed. Not breathed, and breathe. It's beautiful. There's a way to fix the corruptions, ladies and gentlemen. You know, they've really done a number on it. That's why we're speaking Pig Latin. That's why you see it can't be done in Pig Latin, because it's a sacred tradition, and they've destroyed the sacred root forms, the sacred ASHAVORZ, the sacred words. The word means war of death. In the Greek, it says logo, and there's a clue that something's really different in the word, but it goes back to ASHAVOR. And that's the royal eye at the center. The royal eye at the center is the royal eye that is centered. You have to be centered. And you can know these things if you are communicating with the one who makes all things. He's the one who reveals all things. Good news. So, try it again. 4. And why should he not be banished to ruin? He who has been guilty of a perpetual corruption of many others. Upon hearing this reasoning, the senior Zultors, the enlightened ones, were satisfied with Yaakov's own conclusion and breathed, praise, rise up in the creation, is he, the I, who has foreseen all things and destined you to be our bishop, our pathfinder. Speaking about Yaakov, James, brother of Yeshua. He was a Nazareh, Nazareha. Left off the ending, Nazareha. You see, there's the breath. It has to have the breath on it, you know? And this is why, as I continue to advance, the ASHAVORZ get more profound, you know? You can hear the primitive nature of it, right? The Nazareha, it sounds like a primitive form of communication, right? And it is. And these are exact root forms. Now, the nail that came down, what came down from the light? Now, Zar, a star, Zar. Now, Zar, ray, the rays of light from that star. Ha, the breath. Nazareha, you know, power word. And then they corrupted that into Nazarite. Then they corrupted it into Nazi. The Ashkenazi, you know whose. Right? Corrupted it, took over the baby. He said, we'll control the narrative, like, you know, the Outer Limits, right? Ooh, don't touch that dial. We control the horizontal. We control the vertical. We control the contrast, because we are in the outer limits, and we are controlling everything, in fact. So enjoy the program. Continuing on here, tongue in cheek, of course. That's because I just had watched one. I hadn't watched them in 30, 40 years, and I had to watch one, and don't you know, they're telling us exactly what they're doing. The outer limits, black and white, but real red in color all the way. Then after we had breathed this, we all rose up and created light, prayed before the Yahweh, the Father of all creation, before who remains the illumination, the perpetual sunrise forever in a day without end. It is truth. So be it. And then there's a quote that was in there. Wickedness is vanquished by the key knowledge of light. That's the Kurgmata Pratru, what we're reading here. And continue. When the navigator of truth knew that the world had fallen into error, he did not immediately institute the true peace, while this people continued in error. But at the end of the world, he reserved his fire. That's the end of the world 2,000 years ago. But at the end of the world, he reserved his fire, the fire that we talk about, the testing by fire, right? The outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, not in the light, in the outer darkness. There's another kind of fire. It's an invisible fire, but it burns in the heart and in the mind. That's where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth. Against all of those who consent to the darkness and the blindness. This is how he brings forward key knowledge in the place of error. So it's happening again, right? Best as it can be. I'm sure there's someone out there around the world, able to do something similar. Because it's one truth. It's one truth, ladies and gentlemen. It's not his version, their version. It's one fundamental truth. Based on the original thought, that's the key. They wanted you stuck in the Hebrew and Greek. Hope you go to them in their dictionaries, because it's all lying. Verse 2. This is how he brings forward key knowledge in the place of error. He kindles his wrath, the rays of fire, as a branding iron among all of those who are sober enough, being all against that insidious serpent flesh. He has made the word, the ASHAVORZ, just like a sword, and thereby with the key knowledge, he slays all ignorance by cutting out and then separating those who are living from those who are dead. Wickedness is then vanquished by the key knowledge of light for the sake of soul novation, salvation. The son who is obedient is separated from his obstinate father. Or the father from the son. Because we're told to be separate. Or the mother from the daughter, or the daughter from the mother. They will become our worst enemies. Because they're not going, and therefore they don't want you to go. Relatives from all of their earthly relations, or friends from all their companions, so that some then can be saved by separating. This present world is temporal. This is the close. This present world is temporal, while on the other hand, that which comes in the great mystery is eternal. It's not eternal, it's eternal. That's why we've got the E coming out of the A right there. It's eternal. A is infinite, in a day without end. First, it was required for ignorance to come. There you go. It was required in the beginning. That's why that those who came out of Meitzar couldn't receive the higher truth. Okay? So first it was required for ignorance to come, and then after that, in the end, the knowledge of the all. In the same way, Yahweh, God, who is the great Zul of Haim, Elohim, set in proper order those leaders who became the navigators, the prophes, who could lead the way out of the lower state. For while the material lower world represents the woman, and as a mother brings forth the life of her young, the age that has now come is male. The spirit, because it represents the spirit, the masculine, the stronger, what is stronger. And as a father receives the great harvest of his own young, what is declared as finished. It is finished. So it took all of that process. So when we came on the scene, mankind, Ashan kind, it wasn't finished. There was still something left to be done, and that was the perfecting of our state. Of our state. The internal state, not the external, the internal state. At the end of the old world came the great harvest. That's what John the Baptist was ushering in. He was paving the road, making it clear for the royal ruler. The harvest within this end of time is ongoing. That's the good news, ladies and gentlemen. It is ongoing. In the great providence of the Yahweh, Lord God, a pericope was handed down intact within the written diction, the election, law, pure shelter. We could call it the aura, but not the Torah. The aura is the aura. You know, an aura is it's like something, but it's not there yet. And that's what the old covenant was about. It was an aura of something greater, leading up to something greater, when it was finished, so that confirmations could be made with certainty, which of the things that are written are true and which are false. Should put a comma there. Hang on. In the conclusion of the first book of the pure shelter, the law, it stands written, a ruler will not fail from Utah, nor a leader from his seed line. That's why he was a Nazarene, until the one who is to come comes. And he came back from the dead. That's when he came back the second time, ladies and gentlemen, and a great fraud has been perpetrated on mankind. They still got him, waiting for him to come. I know he's coming any day now. Oh boy, those other people way back then must have been fools then. If that were true, it's not. He came back. He rose from the dead. What better comeback can you ever have than rising from the dead? I mean, when people die, they're gone, right? They're gone. They're not coming back. But he came back from the dead. And then, what did he say? I am with you always, even unto the end of time, till the end of the world, till the end of the Gentile dispensation. Then we're done with that crew down there. They're out of here because they destroyed their world. It's over. You got to know it's over, ladies and gentlemen. And your only hope is to connect with the one who made all things. And for him will the nations all be waiting. There you go. Because he comes to you when you are ready. He comes to you at that moment. He's always coming. He's been coming for the last 2,000 years for those who are able to receive him. Do you get the picture? It's by spirit. He comes as spirit because he is spirit. 2. Now he who sees that the leaders who rule out of Utah are past, and that the true ruler and head of state has appeared, and is the one who was also looked for by the nations. And that means all the other ancient cultures, because they were following a type of a savior story. Like in Metsar, Egypt, it was Osiris, right? In Greece, it was Zeus and Jupiter, and in Rome it was Apollo, and in Persia, Zarathustra, and India,
Shiva and Krishna, it sounds very similar, doesn't it? Shiva, Yeshua, and Krishna, Christ, right? Sound very similar. These are all types. And so he is sovereign of all these cultures. The priesthoods were corrupted. They were deceiving the people. But everything was pointing towards the one who would come at the end of time, the true one. And therefore, those other people say, wait a minute, this is the real story. It's just like our story, but this is the real one at the center of the earth, in Yaruah Shalom. Okay? So verse 2 again. Now, he who sees that the leaders who rule out of Utah are past, and that the leaders who rule out of Utah are gone. They're out of here, babe, right? They're past. I should have highlighted that one. I'm going to just underline it. Okay, that's a good statement, right? They're done with them. They're irrelevant. They're deceivers. And that the true ruler and the head of state has appeared and is the one who was also looked for by the nations, that's Gentiles, the generations with the many names, is able on the grounds of that fulfillment to recognize that the passages of Shultre, scripture, are all true, and that the promised one has truly appeared. And if he can accept his doctrine, then he will soon enough learn which portions of the Shultre scriptures answer to the truth and also which are false. In other words, because of the corruptions, right? That's what we're having to deal with today, just like showing that all these words, are games. Go spell, gospel. Go spell, fool. Scriptures, skip truth. Skip truth. When it should be Shultres. That's where you get the word sutures. Ties everything together. Believe. To give little credit to something. Like means I think so. Believe. I think so. All of these negatives that they gave us. Okay. The promised one, let's only back up a little, is able on the grounds that the fulfillment to recognize that the passages of scripture, Shultres, are all true, and that the promised one has truly appeared, finally the true Savior, after all the other false saviors and all the false traditions. Still had sincere people in them, but not the priests. There may have been an exception. And if he can accept his doctrine, then he will soon enough learn which portions of the scripture, Shultres, answer to the truth from the tree's root and which are false. Let me put a comma on that one. That which is true has been mixed with what is false. And Kephe, Peter, false, never was called Peter. You can see there's a sexual overtone in that, but other things as well implied. Phaetor, power of the Fae, but the Fae don't have no power anymore because it's the masculine, like we just read. So even if it means the Fae, it's still a lesser power now, not the dominant that it was in the old covenant. That's why they were serving the woman, but Yeshua introduced the Father, right? And that's why when Mary from Magdala was anointing the feet of Yeshua, and Judas begrudged it, he said, leave her alone. This thing that the woman hath done will be spoken about as a memorial for her, because the woman did her job. She brought forth the baby, and now the Father takes over. And Kephe breeds, that which is true has been mixed with that which is false. And it also follows from this that when on one certain occasion, as I remember it, Yeshua was attacked by the Sadducees, and so he answered, here is the reason you are in error, and it is because you do not know the fundamental aspects of the Shultres, of the scriptures, and for this reason you know nothing of the power and the true intention of Yahweh. If he then assumes that they did not know the true principles of the Shultres, scriptures, then clearly there are
and were false portions contained in them. You see? So in other words, when they came back from Babylon, right? When they changed it from Zul to El, from Zultors to elders, that's an example of all the other, in other words, yeah, it's not, didn't just happen, in our modern time, the last 2,000 years. It was going on at least since they came back from Babylon, right? Or when the tribes broke up, right? And you had Ahab in the northern tribe. You think Ahab loved the scriptures? Give me a break with Jezebel. What do you think they were doing with the scriptures? Right? So the game, it's not a new game, it's an old game. All right. Also, in one of his repeated statements, you need to be wise exchangers in commerce and in law, is referencing to the genuine or non-genuine words or ASHAVORZ in the Shultre scriptures. And in his breathing, why is it you cannot comprehend what is so well founded in the scriptures, the Shultres? He strengthens the comprehension of one who already on his own reflections can judge prudently. That he alluded to the shulfars, the scribes, and the seed planters, teachers of the existing Shultres scriptures. See, we got to change every major word. They've changed them. Let me try that again. And the I, he, that's what he means, the I, 2 letters, 2 words right there. And the I alluded to the shulfars, scribes, and the seed planters of the existing Shultres is because they knew about the true and genuine lost shelter is well established. I think I've got to change a word on that. Didn't read quite right, but you get it. And in breathing, I have not come to destroy the lost shelter. And yet, by the destroying of something, he indicated that what he destroyed had not belonged originally to the shelter, the law. There you go. His declaration. I mean, come on, this is rather heavy stuff, ain't it, ladies and gentlemen? Come on, you're hearing some things you've not heard before. And I haven't read this in 3 years. I'm reading it through. After I did it 3 years ago, if I, read it back then through. And like I say, I'm always running forward and trying to make up for lost time. Have hardly an opportunity to look back. And this is just like, wow, right? I mean, come on, you can't. This is validating everything I've been trying to share with you, because I knew this stuff, for how long now? 4 decades plus, 45 years or more. These were the things he destroyed did not originally belong to the true shelter. Okay, his declaration: the sun, earth, and moon will pass away, but not one yoth, that is a period, or title, that is a symbol or a letter, will pass away from the law, the pure shelter, until everything has been finished. Can you say it is finished? Shows that what passes away before the sun, earth, and moon does not belong to the true original law shelter. Now, ever since way before the day of Yalganun, John, the Avavatazar Baptist, up until now, the royal house of the sun, kingdom of heaven, has been taken over, then ruled and administered by the hand of tyrants. This is the brother of Yeshua writing all this. You get it? It's Yalkaveh, the brother of Yeshua, son of Mitzrayim, Mary, the head of the people of the way in Yerushalayim back then. So he's saying again, now ever since the way before the Dayel of Yalganun, the Avavatazar Baptist, up until now, the royal house of the sun, kingdom of heaven, has been taken over. Yes, it has. We saw what they did to the sovereign, right? They nailed him to a cross. It has been taken over, then ruled and administered by the hand of tyrants. And the tyrants, by force and violence, have all taken full control over the great house of the Yahweh. For all of the navigators, the star prophets, and the pure shelter law were steering the direction, navigating, prophesying, up until Yalganun, John. And if you are able to receive it, this is now the eye of the enlightenment. The eye of the enlightenment, ladies and gentlemen, not a guy called Elijah. You see, that's how they changed the name, or changed the phrase into a name. It was easy to do, of course, back then, right? And this is the game they've been playing on us. So it's the enlightenment that when you see the enlightenment that goes around. Why? Because it's said about Yalganun John that he was every bit just like Yeshua, every bit prolific, every bit extraordinary, other than the fact that he did no miracles. That's the only difference between him and Yeshua. They were the enlightenment, the two witnesses of enlightenment that go round. Okay? And if you're able to receive it, this is now the eye of the enlightenment that goes round, misnomered as Elijah, which would be in the lexicography, Zuleya, which means the enlightenment that goes round, and has now come. So do let everyone who has any ears for hearing listen. We transliterate not only words, but thoughts, idioms, and precepts, and the symbol, ladies and gentlemen. Either you are sovereign over the ASHAVORZ, the words of the sovereign, or they are sovereign over you and control your thinking. And you think you know something when you don't know anything, okay? So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, and we're going to take another break. And when we get back, I'll just open it up for calls. I'm not up to doing any more. If I do one word, I'll do one word perhaps, but I'm really spent. So Ninja, let's go to a break, and I'm hoping that somebody might want to call in. If not, I'll do a close, okay? And then we'll yeah, okay. And where am I going here? Because I don't need to unconnect us, right? And so. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so glad you tuned in. Hope you are telling your friends about the broadcast, and don't go away. We'll be right back with our final segment of the broadcast today. What they didn't want you to know, certainly, but we tell right here.
All right, and welcome back to Forbidden History Live and Ask Dezert-Owl, ladies and gentlemen. And yeah, it's, the original thought transliteration project. You just got an earful, and I guess I don't have to screen share anymore. Let me fix that because oh, if we're going to do a word, yeah, I'm still on screen share, and I guess I'll do one word, and maybe if anybody wants to call in. And we're gonna have to get on Rumble, because we'll get algorithm over on Rumble, and I'm sure we'll get people calling in over there. You got to have, promotion, and all of our tags on our thing means nothing because we're not being promoted with the algorithm. If you leave a comment, if you come back after the program, just refresh your browser. There'll be a way to leave a comment down below at the end rather than close it out. Just wait to the 5 or 10 minutes, and then it'll be uploaded, and then you can just refresh and you can leave a comment down below. But that helps us, and
hit the like button. Hit the like button.
And hit the like button. Sure, thank you, Ninja. And because it does help. It does help, and we've tested it before, and when we had we've regrouped, when we were broadcasting in the past, we were able to test it. So real quick, yeah, I don't think I can do this. It's really, my throat's really hurting me right now. I was gonna do. Let me look at these cards. I'd take a caller if somebody wanted to call in, but I guess my trucker friend out there from New Jersey, my brother in trucking and Jersey hood, is not gonna call in today. Something may have come up, and or he may have heard the program and ran the other way, but don't know what could have happened, but I know that I've got, every network I've ever been on, I didn't stay for too long. Mine lasted 6 years. We got infiltrated by half a dozen people, about 3 women and 3 guys on different times and what have you. And they do damage. When you live by donations, because you can't do both. You can't have a regular job and do this type of work. People do things. So real quick, we'll cap it off with this because I really can't talk anymore. Let me come down here, I guess. Okay, so, when I talk about the word, like the word Masonic, right? Oh, let's go with caps. Try that again. I got to turn on another light. Hold on. All right. So the ick, you see, these are abbreviated words. Remember, they're not pure form. So ick is ink, or excuse me, INK, like that, right? Because ink is black. And also Nick, if we include the N, we got secret. Nick means secret. Ick means ink, which means dark. Okay. So the question is, what do you think? Ninja, you got it. You see what I'm doing?
Yeah, I'm seeing other things as well when you're ready for me to jump in.
We got a problem with the last 3 letters, right?
Yes.
Right. Let me
Yes.
underline
and
it.
The TH is the H is the breath.
Well, here's what it's saying. See, right? If the H is the breath, no. Okay, the T. Let's deal with the T first. Remember the cross means the 4 directions, right?
Yes.
Okay, you get that? It's a navigation symbol.
Yes.
The 4 directions, right? Like in the Zorro, okay? So so literally, the T. Stay tight. Means from everywhere. And then the H is breathe. And let's go with some color on that so we can help out. We'll use the communist red. That's a good one for the you-know-who's, right? And then the INK, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the INK is darkness. So THINK, from everywhere, breathe darkness. How do you like that for thinking, huh?
And what more evidence do you need, especially the last 3 years, in seeing that, which is right there on the screen in front of everybody? Yep.
Right. There's the meaning of think, ladies and gentlemen, okay? Masonic is mother, sons of darkness. Mashonik, mother, sons of darkness. And the ick is and the only other ink I didn't include was this one. I guess I should have included this. How did we forget? How did I forget, Ninja? How did you miss this one?
How did I miss it? I see. Can I say what I see in a minute? Oh, yeah.
Ink for
Incorporated.
corporations.
Yep.
The corporations are what have destroyed our planet. Right? Darkness. Think. INC. Okay? Because it's the railroad that worked, for Federal Reserve Bank. a trust of the Federal Reserve Bank, and you know, so this is the game. In other words, what's called the missing 13th Amendment, which is in the catalog, my Forbidden History catalog from 1997, 1998. When I lost my organization, when the catalog was just finished, printed 500 copies, it was all over. The corporations, there was titles of nobility also extended to corporations. You see, everyone had to take responsibility for their actions. Do we see the head of the railroad going to jail? If you crashed your car into a tree, you go to jail, right? You go to jail. They walk. They commit mass murder. They're okay. You step on the wrong piece of property, or kill a tsetse fly, you go to prison. That's the game. So think, ladies and gentlemen, is not what you do not mean what you think, what you say when you mean what you say. From everywhere, breathe darkness. That's what think means. So we got to find out what the right word is now that we've seen it here for the first time. All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it don't look like we got any callers, so we're.
Can I call in?
You want to call in?
I just
thought you were going to bed.
Oh, you always get the wheels turning when you do the words. ASHAVORZ.
Do I keep up the Word document? Do you need me to type?
Yeah, keep it there.
Oh, all right.
Just as soon as you typed Masonic, I saw Sonic, and being that in the word think, the H is the breath, and the breath is a vibration, and when you speak it's a vibration, and isn't sonic vibration? So that's...
Yeah, sonic is vibration. There's also a restaurant here in America called the Sonic, and we go there. I got some of the best jalapeno hamburgers from the Sonic. But then there's the Sonic Boom, so Sonic has something to do with the sound barrier.
Yes.
Breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah. And I also saw in some of the letters icon in the ONIC. I see icon.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The mother's icon, right? With an S on it, iconic, or mother's icons.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that was all. You got the wheels turning at least. Thank you.
All right, got the wheels turning.
Yep.
And now we're gonna.
It's
wind her
past
down.
my bedtime.
What time is it over there?
It's 6 a.m. and we started at 3.
All right.
So yeah. So
she got her
pretty
sleep
good.
first. She went to bed before that, ladies and gentlemen. So
for a couple of hours.
we're not torturing. We don't torture anybody. We try to get her to get some rest before time, but she's always done it on the rough schedule. I can't get over Ninja. She's really done a great job. We couldn't done it without her. And Thea saying I am seeing it mean code. Okay, code. What word was code? Ninja, do you know what she was talking about?
No, there was just Masonic and think.
All right. Well, yeah. Well, it is all code.
I'm not sure.
That's for sure. I'm going to look at it real quick here.
Oh yeah, probably when you were doing the TH and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, anyway, to break down the letters that way, I hope will help the people to see that it is a code, and that we read it like hieroglyphics. And that's called the lexicog. The lexicog, Masonic. Okay. Yeah, it's definitely a code. And so okay, well, very good. And we've done enough damage for one day. We've been on 3 hours, so timed it just right. Actually, we started 5 minutes late, so we're just enough time for a song to end it all. And so hopefully within the second week, we'll be on Rumble on the second week of next month, Father willing and Ninja willing, and all of you willing out there to keep your support coming in. We sure need that encouragement your love and your light creation. And, you know, if you weren't there, I wouldn't be here. But of course, if I weren't here, you wouldn't be there either, right? So think about it. And then just realize that we're here for a very short time. We know they're about to pull the plug. And I was really, you know, excited about doing the program today, to be hanging out with wonderful people, dedicated people, and, you know, who are getting it. You know, you actually, and, you know, if you follow Ninja very much, you'll know that, you know, she can work with these words now just like a formula. And she, you know, when I'm seeing it one way, she's seeing it another way, and she brings it on, you know, and it's always great because it's just reading the formula. There's no magic here. It's knowing the science. It's a science of symbol, and the symbols come together and create thought. And so that's what we do right here. We'll be back on next week. I may just go right into the alphabet. I'm been waiting too long to do it, and we'll just do words little by little as we go into that. Okay, so all right, ladies and gentlemen, it looks like a wrap. So just don't forget, I'm Dezert-Owl, telling you, if you want to know the future, then you need to look for the forbidden history, because it's all right here, coming your way, somewhere out there, 7 days a week. It's what they didn't want you to know. Of course, that we tell right here. It's the real public radio, Free America Radio Network. Do tell your friends, and come on back. We'll look for you next Saturday at 12 noon Eastern Time. Okay? And thank you for all your kind support. We appreciate it. Peace and light, everybody. We'll see you.
Starry, starry night, paint your palette blue and gray. Look out on a summer's day with eyes that know the darkness in my soul. Shadows on the hills, sketch the trees and the daffodils, catch the breeze and the winter chills in colors on the snowy linen land. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now. Starry, starry night, flaming flowers that brightly blaze, swirling clouds in violet haze, reflect in Vincent's eyes of china blue, colors changing hue. Morning fields of amber grain, weathered faces lined in pain, are soothed beneath the artist's loving hand. Now I understand what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they did not know how. Perhaps they'll listen now, for they could not love you, but still your love was true. And when no hope was left inside on that starry, starry night, you took your life as lovers often do. But I could have told you, Vincent, this world was never meant for one as beautiful as you. Starry, starry night, portraits hung in empty halls, frameless heads on nameless walls, with eyes that watch the world and can't forget, like the strangers that you've met, the ragged men in ragged clothes, a silver thorn, a bloody rose, lie crushed and broken on the virgin snow. Now I think I know what you tried to say to me, and how you suffered for your sanity, and how you tried to set them free. They would not listen, they're not listening still. Perhaps they never